and your garments are moth-eaten. What started out good, and it gives the picture of food, vegetables, fresh vegetables, and that's the fresh meat, the very best, the best tasting stuff. It says, it started out good. You pick it fresh and it's beautiful and tastes good, but it turned rotten. Clothes, brand new clothes. Brand new clothes, good clothes. You know what happens? Well, they get moth-eaten. Now, the interesting thing is it silently rots and it's silently moth-eaten. Moths eat quietly and you don't know it's happening. It's an incredible picture. That's what happens with money. You don't even know it's happening, and all of a sudden it's like, how did we get to this misery place of fighting and conflicts and destruction of family? Like, how did money begin to destroy my kids and my grandkids? How did money begin to destroy my marriage because of jobs and careers took away from time and energy, and all of a sudden money became more important than my marriage, and my marriage fell apart. Why? Because of money. Rotten. Slowly eaten away what really was good. Now, so I have to have a little fun here, When I first was married, Carol and I, we just didn't have anything. Just incredibly started with nothing. There was no management of finances. Basically, you just had to budget to try and make it from month to month and try and put a little away and save, but there was just nothing there. You know what happens now, many years later? Now I got all these things I got to take care of because retirement's coming, so you got to try and do investments and different things. And I get all these stuff in the mail, and you got to try and manage it well. I got so much more headache. You know how much time I have to take care of those stupid things to take care of, to try and make sure I'm on top of it, and when the market's down, when the market's up. You know what I'm talking about. It's like I spend so much time compared to what I used to. It's complicated in my life. That's what it's saying here. It slowly sneaks in, and all of a sudden you have more, and all of a sudden you got more to manage, and now all of a sudden, it takes more and more energy, more and more priorities. And it's a dangerous thing the more money we have. So those of you who are here today and you don't have much, it's like just thank the Lord and say, man, I have a simple life compared to those people that have money. Just so much less complicated stuff. Now, some of us really don't like it, but some days, do you ever pray, say, I've prayed this, and it scares me to pray it, but like, Lord, if I have too much money, I pray you take some away. If my money is distracting me from what's important, take it away. You ever prayed that? You try it. Be careful, because you may have less money. God, my income's too high. If my income's too high, I prayed, come down. If I'm not managing my money, why? I want less. We somehow have this lie biblically that says more is always better. It's like, no, don't run down that track. More might be better, and if you can honor God, there's nothing wrong with more. But be careful and say, God, if it leads my family to destruction, I pray I'd have less. If it destroys my marriage, I pray I'd have less. If it keeps me from doing what I should be doing, I want less. Our spiritual life and eternity is what's at stake. We're talking heaven. And a lot of us, we don't plan to ever go to heaven. We just plan to stay here forever. And we care more about money and investments and making good on it than we do about eternally. Make sure things eternally are growing. Laying up our treasures in heaven. Wow. Your riches have rotted. Wow, what an incredible thing. Your garments are moth-eaten. It's like, oh man. Some of us are sitting here today and say, my life has rotted away and my moths have eaten because of money. Looks good. That clothes looked good when I started. The food was fresh. It looked like it was a good thing to get more money, and it ended up being it's just a tragic mess. Your riches have rotted. It's quietly destroying. The idea of hoarded wealth is sort of here because if you have too much money and you can't use it, it rots away. If you have too much food, clothes, you can't wear them, and it just so. You know what we do now? So you go through your closet. If I haven't worn these clothes in 2 years, no, some of you are a year, I think. A year. Then they have trouble down here. I just heard this week they have so many clothes down here at the, what do they call the place with all the clothes? What do they call that? Yeah, Share Exchange. They have so many clothes they can't take them all anymore. Unbelievable. You know why? A lot of them are really good clothes. You know why? Because we just want to be in style. I'm like you. Want to have, want to be in style. So what do we take? Well, we can't wear this anymore, so we take it down to the share exchange. We hope somebody wants it. Or down to Bismarck. Like, that's the idea here, is you have so much you can't use it all. So how many of you have so many clothes that you can't wear them all? Raise your hand. Yeah, a lot of us. Incredible. A few of you grow out of it so fast that, you're growing, your kids, you're growing out of it so fast you don't understand what we mean. But a lot of us is like, that's the picture it's getting here. That's the picture it is we have so much money we can't use it all for God's glory in the right way. It says here in Matthew chapter 6, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust doth corrupt and where thieves break through and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven. It's always working on making sure nothing wrong with investing in heaven. We are on earth. We need to do that. The Bible talks about that. The Proverbs, saving and investing. So there's nothing wrong with it. Be careful that we don't say, my major priority I have is investing in heaven. I care about my money and my investments always be connected with eternity because that's where my greatest investment is, and we care about that. Things that we think are permanent. I love this. Silver and gold. You want to measure wealth, silver and gold. It's like, the economy's going down, the stock market's going down. What do you need to buy? Buy silver and buy gold. Now, I'm not sure I believe all that stuff, but it's like, oh yeah, you got to have diversity of your portfolio and buy silver and buy gold. Nothing wrong with any of it. Nothing wrong with silver and gold. But it says, be careful. If that's what you think is permanent, the bad news is even silver and gold will have destruction, corrosion, be corroded. Things we think are permanent will always have its value. Store up, then thieves can break through and steal your gold. You say, well, I don't have it in the bank. I have it in my safety deposit box. I love it. Nothing wrong with safety deposit boxes, by the way. But some of us have this funny attitude that we think we can preserve our wealth. It's like, okay, well, the bad news is you can preserve it for a while. You can. But in eternity, you can't take it with you. All becomes a zero. You become bankrupt, zero, exactly zero in terms of eternity. So all of us have to say, earthly, we leave it all behind. We stored up so much, went bad, money's gone quickly. It says your silver and gold have corroded, and your corrosion will be evidence against you. In other words, how we've used our money, and if we've not used it correctly, it's literally evidence against us in eternity. Do you ever think about that? It's like how I handle my gold and silver. When I get before God, God's going to hold me accountable for how I use my money. And it will condemn us. It will send us to hell if we don't understand the grace of God and His forgiveness. Now, the good news is, or the bad news, depending on what you look at, is the bad news is none of us have handled our money all right. None of us. All of us have bad hearts at some point with money. So it all condemns all of us to hell, except for the grace of God. And we say, God, I thank you for forgiving me for times I've been terrible with my money management in terms of what you did. Some of us don't ever think about that. We think it's our money and I can do what I want and God doesn't care. I was like, oh, no, you'd be condemned by your money. All of us are guilty, so the bad news is all of us are there.